partner in our multipolar world, and for the very first time we are having a G7 summit on Africa soil. We are living in challenging times. Wars in Africa and Europe, humanitarian tragedies in the Middle East, trade tensions, supply chains being disrupted, and economic coercion on the rise. And against the backdrop of global challenges like climate change, inequality, and poverty, the European Union comes with a simple message to our partners. The European Union is here. We are predictable, reliable, and trustworthy partner. We are here to work with our G20 partners. We are here to work together because nobody cannot tackle global challenges alone. South Africa made this year a success. It has used this opportunity to advance very important priorities: solidarity, equality, and sustainable development, priorities that we share in the European Union. We are taking positive steps to make the international financing architecture more inclusive, efficient, and representative, to ease the debt burden that prevents developing countries from investing in their own future, to improve debt sustainability and of vulnerable countries. Climate change is blind to wealth, but hurts developing countries more. The European Union is here to lead the way in cutting emissions, and so is our willingness to help vulnerable countries react and adapt to these challenges. The European Union is committed to supporting Africa's journey to unlock its full potential. And we are looking forward to engaging with all African Union countries at our summit with them early next week. Finally, on critical minerals, diversifying supply chains and reducing dependencies is a priority for the European Union. Concentrated production increases geopolitical and economic risks. We must build strategic autonomy. This requires us to engage with different parts of the world and with new partnerships while strengthening existing ones. This is what the G20 enables us to do on development, on trade, on climate, on critical minerals, or artificial intelligence. The European Union will take its responsibilities as a big economic power in the multipolar world. But we cannot do it alone. We need all G20 members to take bold, collective action. This is what this summit is about. As the world becomes more multipolar, we need more multilateral cooperation, not less. To paraphrase Bishop Desmond Tutu, I would say, our commitment to multilateralism is bound up in yours. Multilateralism is not old-fashioned. Multilateralism is not outdated. Multilateralism is our best, maybe our only defense against disruption, violence, and chaos. And South Africa puts multilateralism to work. And I would like to commend President Ramaphosa and the South African team. You have done an exceptional work towards reaching an agreed leaders' outcome from this summit. We are looking forward to the discussions ahead. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let me first also say, together with President Costa, that the European Union is very pleased to be here in Johannesburg. The G20 summit is the first on African soil. It is the first since the African Union joined as a permanent member. And this is highlighting Africa's central and vital role on the global stage and the leadership of President Ramaphosa and South Africa. The G20 is a premier global forum to find common solutions for common challenges, such as how to maintain reliable, rules-based trade in a volatile global economy, or how to ensure climate change, fight food and energy resilience, and how to meet the opportunities and risks posed by rapid technological change. These are the topics of the 3 roundtables that will form the core of our discussions in the next 2 days. And allow me to go into further detail on each of those 3. The first is on trade. Europe is doubling down on our core belief that rules-based trade delivers. We will continue to champion partnership, openness, and fair competition. And that is the message we'll bring to the G20 and to the EU-African Union summit, which follows these G20. Our network of free trade agreements is already the biggest in the world, 44 agreements with 76 partners. And we have more on the way. The agreements we have reached with Mercosur, Mexico, and Indonesia further strengthen our network. And we're working non-stop to finalize an agreement with India, but also with Australia, Thailand, the Philippines, Malaysia, and the United Arab Emirates. And just yesterday, we, the European Union, and South Africa concluded a clean trade and investment partnership. We are a partner that plays by the rules. That's important for us. We listen to our partners. And above all, we deliver mutual gains in trade and investment, which in return delivers good jobs. We believe in the mutual gain in trade and investment. We will continue advocating for a strong, reformed, and relevant World Trade Organization, including here at the G20. The second roundtable, there the motto is a resilient world. And here the focus is on fighting climate change and the clean energy transition. As European Union, we want to bring a message of hope and of opportunity to this G20 summit. It is a message about clean energy technologies and clean energy transitions, because not only do they meet our urgent need to tackle climate change, but they do much, much more. And the business case by now is doing much better. Clean energy transitions are cost competitive. They create jobs, good jobs, homegrown. They open new ways to bring modern energy to the many millions that remain without access to energy. And they are a natural fit, of course, for many developing economies, as it is about the resources that these developing economies have in abundance. So we're speaking about not only solar, but also wind, geothermal, hydropower, and the new low-emission fuels. But for the clean transitions to really succeed, it must happen everywhere. That's important. And this is where reliable cooperation between trusted partners is yet again the best way forward. I welcome South Africa's making this a focal point of their G20 presidency. Just think about 2 figures. Last year, the investment in clean energy was globally 2 trillion, but only 2% of these investment went to Africa. But Africa is the continent with 60% of the world's best solar potential. So this cannot be. We must change this imbalance. And that is at the core of the European Union's Global Gateway Initiative. Of the whole 300 billion euros, 25% go into energy investment, and this to the Global South. The European Union wants to be Africa's partner of choice. That is for us important. and the opportunities now. And therefore, I welcome that there is a side event here at G20. This afternoon, together with President Ramaphosa, we will host the final pledging event of our campaign called Scaling Up Renewables for Africa. It will be a key moment because we will convene governments and investors and philanthropists to come together and to power Africa's future. I hope to see you there too. My last point is on the third roundtable, a fair and just future. And here we will discuss the new issues like digital governance and how to enter the global economic mainstream with digitalization. And that's why I'm looking forward to our discussions on artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, we all know, is a revolution, but we must make it a revolution with citizens at its core. For Europe, innovation and accountability don't pull in opposite directions. On the contrary, they push together. And we are already working hand in hand with G20 partners who share the same vision of AI. It must be a game changer for good. This potential is strong on the African continent, from optimizing the renewable energy grids to predicting natural disasters. You need AI in these topics. And there, the European Union is working with our partners to lay the groundwork here in Africa for artificial intelligence factories. In other words, this is bringing computational power to the many, many startups that are here on the continent so that they can train their models, develop their models, and improve their models. So, to conclude, I'm looking forward to the next 2 days. Thank you.
Many thanks to our two presidents. We now open the floor for your questions, starting here at the front with Julia.
Good morning. Julia Payne from Reuters. I was wondering if you had any thoughts about the U.S. 28-point plan for peace in Ukraine. Is it acceptable to you? And is Zelensky or the U.S. or Russia bringing you into the discussions?
Well, thank you for your question. The European Union has not been communicated any plans in official matter. That it makes no sense for me, for us, to comment at this point. I just can to say and repeat that the European Union remains fully committed to ensure an unwavering support to Ukraine based on the principles of the United Nations Charter.
So indeed, from day one on, we have stood by Ukraine, side by side with Ukraine, and together we are defending the principles of the UN Charter. And we have been working intensely with President Zelensky and the coalition of the willing for a just and a lasting peace. And this is an ongoing process. As you said, yesterday a 28-point plan was made public. We will discuss the situation both with European leaders and with leaders here in the sidelines of the G20. I will also reach out to President Zelensky to discuss the matter. Important is a key principle we have always upheld, and that is nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine.
Next question. Christine.
Thanks very much. Christine Munder from DW, Deutsche Welle News. Just coming to the topic of climate change, could you give us a sense of what are you going to be insisting on in terms of whatever the final text would be, the summit declaration or chair statement or whatever the case may be? Because it's looking like the European Union itself is losing momentum in terms of the targets you've been setting. What are you going to be insisting on? And also the aspect of where the money is flowing. So there's a big emphasis on your part on the energy transition, but your partners, particularly here in Africa, really want adaptation financing as well. So is there a bit of a mismatch as to what you're insisting on, where you want to put the money, but where your partners need the money, mitigation here on the African continent. So just what is on the table? What are you asking countries in Africa to commit to in the absence of momentum on your side as well and funding in the right places? Thank you.
So I want to be very clear for the European Union. We are staying the course. We have our climate targets cast in law for 2030, now for 2040, and climate neutrality for 2050. We're staying the course. We're very clear that we want to reach these targets. We are well on track for the 2030 target. On the way forward, we have to be adaptable and flexible because this is a huge transition that is happening. No one has done it before. So we really have to are on uncharted waters, but we stay the course towards the common goals. That's important for me to emphasize that. Then the expectations here for the G20. I also want to be clear. We're not fighting fossil fuels. We're fighting the emissions from fossil fuels. That is important. So the big topic is, of course, always in fighting climate change is energy. If you look at the cut of emissions, I can only speak for the European Union. The last 20 years, we have cut the emissions by 50%. This cut has mostly taken place via reducing emissions in energy. So this is vital, and here we're talking about clean energy. It's either renewables or nuclear energy. And you're right, climate change is mostly affecting, of course, emerging economies. But they are often also the ones who have now the resources, as I just said, for fighting climate change and having alternatives, clean alternatives for energy. The figure I just was mentioning was the 2 trillion that are invested last year in energy, clean energy, renewables and low carbon energies. Only 2% went to Africa. And here we have to change the balance. Much more investment has to go to Africa. On your final point, climate finance, the European Union is the largest founder of climate finance. Last year we contributed 29 billion euros. That is the biggest sum. And we are completely committed also to the new goals we have set for adaptation and for climate finance.
Next question, Ansgar.
Ansgar, the German press agency EPA. Madam President, Mr. President, on the absence of the United States here at the summit, how do you assess the accusations of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, against the host country regarding the human rights situation? And from your point of view, does the situation justify a boycott of the summit? And also, just very briefly, will you attend next year's G20 summit in Florida if it means sitting together with the Russian President Vladimir Putin? Thank you.
Well, the answer is clear. We are here. And we are here because we are working in a very close way with our South African countries, South African host. The South African presidents of G20 was a very good presidency. They raised central issues to tackle our global challenges. And we are here all together to work together. As you know, the European Union is very clear. We believe in the multilateral system. We uphold the international rules-based order on peace and war, on trade, on the economic security, on the climate change. We remain engaged with the Paris Agreement. And as you know, the world today is not only multipolar, it's also plural. The North is plural, the South is plural, and it's the reason because we need to engage with each other. And we are here to work with our South African partners, with our G20 partners, and this is what we are doing here, is what we are doing in the G7, is what we are doing in WTO, is what we are doing in the United Nations, and what we will continue to do because we believe in the multilateralism and the rules-based order.
My question. What about the accusations, real accusations against the whole country made by US President Donald Trump?
I think it's not on our behalf to comment other countries' statements. So you have to ask the United States what that is concerned.
Final question, folks. We have time for one more. Over here, please.
Good morning. I'm Michael Patricio. I'm a regular contributor to BBC and CNN. In fact, I just got off BBC and founder of the World Briefing on Substack. They just asked me on BBC how the EU could possibly find itself so, excuse my language, appallingly sidelined by the peace process in Ukraine just now. And I have to be very frank with you. I've been based in Ukraine since before the start of the war. I talk to Ukrainians every day. Just before coming here, I visited one of the cemeteries where Ukrainian servicemen and women paid the ultimate cost. They are overflowing. So my question is, a lot of Ukrainians ask, how is it that the EU member states contribute more to the Russian war machine in terms of energy payments than it does to aid to Ukraine? Why is it that it took so long for 19 packages of sanctions? Had everything been delivered in one blow, we wouldn't be where we are. And finally, the drip, drip, drip approach to providing weaponry, Taurus missiles to be specific in this case. How do you see the EU's role going forward, given what's happening, especially with the American, let's call it imposition of themselves in the process? Thank you.
So we have been by Ukraine's side from the very beginning on. First of all, it was the goal of Vladimir Putin to take Kyiv in 3 days or 3 weeks. He failed dramatically. This is first and foremost because of the courage of the Ukrainian people, without any question. But we supported from day one on the Ukrainian people as much as possible. And we've contributed more than 180 billion euros to support not only the Ukraine with military capabilities, but also, of course, with budget support. And this will continue without any question. We have indeed unleashed 19 sanctions packages, and these are biting sanctions. You see it when you look at the increasing difficulties the Russian economy has, soaring inflation, soaring interest rates, an overheated war economy. Slowly but surely the figures are showing that the sanctions are biting. And why not in one go? Because the sanctions often also reply to the circumventions of loopholes. So you put a sanction, there appears a loophole, you close the loophole, etc. It's a process that is ongoing, and the pressure on Russia here is ongoing. We will continue to support Ukraine, as we've done before. Ukraine can count on us, because this is not only an aggression against Ukraine, but it is an aggression against the principles of the UN Charter. It's on European soil, and therefore we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes.
This concludes our press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to the presidents. Have a good afternoon.
All right. Thank you, my friend.